Tower in the Bosphorus in Istanbul. So like, I love that. So I did. I mean, I was like thinking of bidding on it. It was my wife that didn't want it, and
you're just accidentally buying artwork.
Yeah,
like,
so this shit
no
is
big
all
deal.
the same thing. It's all this one tower. Because Kalesi, it's like just off the coast of the Asian side in Istanbul, and for a brief moment in time, there's like an 8-year stretch when you could actually rent the thing out before they said, nope, that's too important to Turkish national pride or whatever, and like we won't let private people rent it out anymore. And it was like ridiculously cheap and underpriced as well because the government was running it.
Nice.
And so we actually rented out that little island and tower for my wedding in 2012.
Damn.
Dude, wow.
Yeah, but dude, like I'm telling you, it was, I mean, money's money, but it was stupid cheap for that. I mean, probably like 15 grand or something. Like you can't get a Four Seasons wedding for less than $250,000.
Oh yeah, dude. I got married in Palermo, Sicily, and same thing. It was like the spread. It was cheap. It's like it's like not even close to what you can get there for the price.
Yeah, dude, the wedding racket in the U.S. is just bullshit.
You got to get some of that artwork to Mahler, so for his interviews, he can have some on those shelves behind him that are always empty.
I should send him some shoes. It feels like that thing needs shoes.
If we're going to talk about scams
weddings
today,
or shit coins.
Yeah, exactly. If we're going to talk about scams, weddings are top of the list. FTX maybe just, reigns in just slightly under them, but weddings and art, yeah, pure scams, shit coins.
They could get that money back quick if they just went into the wedding business like 1 year, probably.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective, not to chew airtime on a Bitcoin podcast, but
chew it.
I think spending some money on a wedding and making people come from like far and wide for it and making a big deal about it makes it more of a commitment, and it makes the bar for ending something like that a bit higher. And so I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, or it just makes it more painful. Yeah, whichever way you want to look at it.
Either way.
We're live, by the way, boys. We're rolling here.
Well, we fully expected these guys. You'll just be like in the middle of saying some like horrible shit, and like Dan will just hit record in the middle of it, and then you're on YouTube.
If we're in the middle of talking about artwork and scams, this piece of art I have behind me, it's a crypto graffiti. I was going to buy it at the Bitcoin conference last year, but I waited because I was like, I don't know if I want to buy it. So like I got this urgency like 2 months ago. I was like, I have to have it. So I found what appeared to be a Bitcoin magazine site that was selling it. So I was like, fuck, I'm buying it right now. Sent like $800 worth of Bitcoin to this website, and then like have a panic moment where I'm like, holy shit, I'm pretty sure I just got scammed. And I texted Dan. I was like, dude, I think I just got fucked. This website, they didn't send me like a confirmation, nothing. So we knew a couple of guys at Bitcoin Magazine, and I emailed them. I'm like, dude, I think I just got scammed. Is this legit? And they're like, it looks like it's not, man. We think you just got scammed. Thank God, though, it turned out that it was some old site that they had, I don't know, lost track of. And they were like, no, it's legit. We'll send it to you. It's all good.
So it was still them.
It was still them, but they had like a dead site that I had found somehow. And yeah, so it turned out okay. But I thought for sure I was fucked for like 12 hours.
He was panic stricken,
patch, man.
I've never seen him so scared.
It was rough.
Hey, boys, thanks for hopping in here today, by the way. We were talking some firefighting shop, Corey, before you got in here.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We got to start with an intro because Corey, you've been on here twice. Dom, who are you, dude? Give our audience an intro, and then we're going to get to the story right off the bat because you're on here today for a reason.
Yeah, so Dom Bay, Dominic Bay for my Christian name. From the Bay Area, grew up in Oakland and lived in Oakland and San Francisco growing up. Moved down to LA, became a firefighter. I've been a firefighter for 13 years. Got into crypto, specifically, this is going to hurt the viewers real bad. I'll start off with like a low blow to the gut, but I worked actually an Ethereum conference. But it was, there was folks.
I click end just as quick as I click record. We're done.
That's it. Done.
No, we both shitcoined. Don't worry.
Yeah. But got heavily, into Bitcoin and really interested, of course. And, And so, yeah, you know, working as a fire captain now, and of course we'll get into this crazy story, but that's my little brief story.
For our firefighter listeners, we apologize. This is the Blue Collar Bitcoin podcast, and Josh and I actually wear blue collars at work. Wear blue shirts. Mm-hmm. We have brought on a white collar officer onto the show. We'll get through it. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we may have a snake in the nest here, Josh, with a captain on.
Yeah, we got to watch him carefully. You know, he'll be sending us to do some bullshit at 1:00 in the afternoon when it's nap time.
When we want to be researching for tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I hung out with Dom all last week, and I can say, like, I didn't detect a bit of uppity. Like,
no, I'm a working captain. My crew will attest. I'm sure actually if you got him on here, they'd be like, yeah, he says he's a working captain, but no, you know, it's in our structure, we all wear blue shirts. The battalion chiefs and above wear black shirts. So I mean, you know,
so you actually do wear a blue shirt.
I do wear a blue collar.
Right.
So
accepted here.
Yeah,
I guess it'll pass muster.
So captains are in the union? Where does the cutoff happen for you folks?
Our union is up to battalion chief. So we have up to battalion chiefs, and pretty much is like for the Santa Monica Firefighters Union and for most firefighters union, like responding to 911 calls, like they're all in the union. So that includes the battalion chiefs.
Cool. Welcome on the show, man. You're second firefighter. Mags Granowska is a firefighter up in Canada. I think you're
That's
number
a name
2.
right there, Mags.
We're honored to have you.
I was there last week. I don't know how you describe. You guys probably met because she was at all the VIP stuff too.
Yeah, she sent us pictures with Sailor, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, they were really cool. I connected with. Of course, after Cory brought me up at the wrap party, there was like two firefighters stormed. They're like, we're firefighters too, and Bitcoin. And I was just like, cool, man. Like, but that was pretty cool.
So fill us on the
story.
Yeah, we got to hear this.
Hold on. Before we do that, what kind of first time podcast guest has a professional mic like this dude? What's going on?
I wanted, that's a good question. Let's hear.
So I'm a co-host on my brother's podcast, which is called Bridge to Bridge Podcast. I'm like his little sidekick, but cool show if you guys ever want to listen in. We have like Bay Area folks that are from the Bay Area working in different industries of all types. And so I have the mic already. So I figured I'd lend you guys some quality audio while I had
really appreciate it. You would be surprised how many people come on with like AirPods and like that's it. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Marin County native over here. If you ever want me to come on.
That's right. That's oh, dude, that'd be awesome. And I figured that because when you said you were from the Bay Area and I saw the 3-point shot, I was like, oh, that's Marin and above, because only Marin and above shoots 50% and better from beyond the arc. It's like
wait, so Cory, was that 6 3-pointers in a row, or what? Tell us the story about that real quick before we keep going here.
Sure. Yeah. So I was just like, I was off all morning, and I didn't quite know when it was, and I was getting pulled in to do different things. Obviously, like, this is the first day of the conference. It's our first one ever. So I've got people, coming over and telling me to put out fires and stuff like this, but I knew I wanted to participate in the 3-point contest at some point. So I got out there a couple of times earlier in the morning. This was not a home court thing. They put up the court the night before. I didn't have any practice or anything. And man, I was like, I have been talking so much shit on Twitter and in person and, in the team and everything about basketball, like, for years now, and especially all this year leading up to this, and posting videos. And, we got a bunch of real actual basketball players on the Swan team too. Like the guy that organized the whole Magic Money Court is on the Panamanian national team and plays pro ball in Norway. 2 or 3 of the guys played D1. So I had I had a big check to write.
Yes, you did.
So, the one thing I will say is I did have enough juice being the organizer to go last and to know what score I had to beat. So I went last in the first round, and I think, came in, had the second best score or something. And then in the finals, even though Captain Youth, by the way, the rapper, is a beast of a basketball player. evidently he's got a bunch of friends wherever he's from that play D1 and D2, and he just plays with them all the time. Very good basketball player. Anyway, so he posted a huge number in the first round, and he went second to last in the last round. Luckily, he was a little cold, and he only made 6. And so the secret was I was off all day. Every time I took a shot, like my elbow hurt, my shoulder hurt, which means that you're like clenching up and you're not loose. And then I at some point I forgot that there was going to be a 3-point contest later, and met up with my buddy Alex Holmes, the Trojans football player, and we did a shot of whiskey at the VIP bar. And then I went back outside, and then I found out the contest was happening, and all of a sudden I was just like loose. It's like spaghetti, man. It's like ready to go.
Zone.
Anyway, so the finals, I knew what I had to beat. Captain Youth had 6. I had 3 balls left. Was that right? No, I had 3 balls left, and I only had 4. I was like still shooting pretty shitty in that, but that's usually when I like to actually concentrate. So I made the first one, made the second one. So now I'm at 6 and I'm tied, and I can just shoot the last one and try to win. But I was like, just winning a 3-point contest, that's not going to go viral. That's not going to be like a cool moment. Let's just like maybe make this thing a little bit legendary. So I stepped back about 8 feet to the Swan circle, which was, probably 3 or 4 past a pro 3-pointer, and then waited for the clock to wind down and talk some more shit. And luckily it went in.
I was going to say that looked like about a 30-footer on Twitter.
Yeah, probably about a 30-footer. And it went in, which was pretty dope. And then I took the mic and I said, "What the fuck did I say? FTX is a scam."
Dude,
yeah,
that's a double slam dunk right there, man.
That was a nice shot.
Well, all right, let's hear the story now. We got to transition over to the story because I really got to hear this. Dan and I have been sitting on eggshells for.
The conference ended and our Twitter just exploded. Everybody was like, "You got to talk to this guy. You got to talk to this guy." And we're like, "All right, you don't have to say it twice. Let's hear what happened." It sounded like it was really cool, not cool, and then cool.
Yeah,
walk us through it. Whoever wants to start.
Let me just do a couple of sentences and then pitch over to Dom because he was the man. But so Zach Zager is one of the younger members of our team. Super hardworking analyst, does a lot of data crunching and stuff like that. Everybody loves this guy. So of course, when they all got in town, everybody wanted to do fun stuff. They were going out for runs, they were going to the beach, they were going to bars, etc. On Wednesday morning, this is the first day of like official conference events. We're putting on this big, pre-industry day for venture capitalists and all the speakers and a handful of like VIPs and a bunch of the Swans decided to run down to the beach and get in like an early morning swim. They're all from like the Midwest and, other places, and 65 sounds warm to them. So they're running down on the beach and they're jumping in the surf and having fun. And I'll let Dom pick it up from there.
Yeah. So while they're doing that, I'm pulling up to work, as you guys know, firefighter, checking my gear, checking a bunch of stuff. But that morning, there was some other stuff to be checked, and that was like, where's Bitcoin at, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, So I'm like, being who, I'm there. I got the text thread going. I'm like, all right, let's get where are we at? Where are we going? Like, let's talk shop,
Air pack, cardiac monitor, Bitcoin price. That's how we roll in our agency.
That's pretty accurate.
So then we get a call. Call goes off. And we just get a call for someone on the beach, an injury. So we cruise that way and pull up to a scene where Zach and his buddies and the rest of the Swan guys are there, and everyone looks good. You guys, nothing like, you're not pulling up like, oh my gosh. But Zach's there. He's kind of got some neck pain. We get the story. And they're like, hey, we were there diving in, and Zach thinks he hit his head on the bottom. And we're checking it out. And you guys know this as being firefighters, like this is one of those calls where like you're kind of thinking like you want to just hang out with the buddies and see how you feel and like call the doc in the morning. But, working on the West Coast and going on a lot of ocean incidents, like you just like diving, neck pain, ocean bottom, package him up, Like that's it. So my crew, which I had my guys with me were Stone, Crosby, and Gleave. Awesome. They package them up, get them all squared away. The whole thing, tape, collar to the backboard. I'm telling Zach, I'm like, hey, you're going to hate me after this because this thing is like not comfortable. It's pretty cold out. And so we're going up to the hospital, and, we got to tell them, like, there's always that moment, like, should I go? And it's like, hey, look, like, again, they're probably going to check you out and you're going to get a bill and it's going to suck. But, I don't know what to tell you other than, like, this is the safest way to roll. And he was cool. He's like, all right, let's roll. So we're going up, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing in town? And he's like, oh, we're here for this conference. Now, ironically, I was scheduled to work the Pacific Bitcoin conference as like a fire safety officer that Friday. This is a Wednesday. And so he just says he's here for a conference. I'm like, hey, dude, is it the Pacific Bitcoin conference? And he's like, yeah, dude, like, how'd you know? And I'm like, dude, I'm working it Friday. And he's like, I'm with one of the groups putting it on. I'm like, Swan, are you with Swan? He's like, yeah, I'm with them. And he's like, yeah, I'm a Bitcoin analyst. I'm like, Bitcoin analyst? I'm like, bro, can we talk about something that's on my mind right now? I'm like, number one, I'm not into reading signs, but like Bitcoin dropped below 17. You dove in at Tower 17. Like, what is going on, dude? Like, are we saying don't dive in? Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm not trying to overread stuff. He's kind of laughing. So, cheered him up some on the way up. And,
yeah. And you got to be like, dude, your pain's like a 10 out of 10, right? You need some ketamine. Here you go. Let's find out. Let's dive into this.
Let's really hear what's going on with
buddy.
Bitcoin.
Let's see.
Spill your beans here.
Let's see what's really going on at Swan. Tell me the truth. Here's the ketamine.
Oh, dude.
Find out a lot of shit about people when they're on ketamine, man.
Learning more about Josh every time I come on.
Yeah. We don't have ketamine, but if we did, that's yeah.
You guys don't have the Special K yet? You will.
No, yeah.
In all, we're diverging here, but for the medics and firefighters,
I can't be on screen with this kind of chat.
Ketamine's actually an unbelievable pain medication. We've carried fentanyl for years. We had morphine years ago, then we had fentanyl, and in all seriousness, just from an EMS vantage point, in the 2 or 3 years we've had it, it's incredible at helping people through some really significant pain.
Yeah,
it's becoming our go-to pain med.
Morphine, as you guys know, like the morphine sulfate, that's kind of that we carry. It doesn't, I mean, I've been on elderly patients who have like hurt their hip, and you'll give them a little bit of morphine and they're like, I'm noticing no difference in the pain. And that kind of sucks because
we have the same experience with fentanyl, which is just a synthetic morphine. And it's very similar. I think it's just the dosages they trust us with. They're like, these dumb paramedics aren't going to be able to handle if, they stop breathing or whatever. So they give us such small dosage amounts that it doesn't usually help them much. The ketamine usually does it does help them significantly better in my experience.
County's pretty big, so we usually have a very conservative like protocols to make because it's such a big county. So yeah, we're going up though. We're going down the rabbit hole. We're talking shop. I'm letting him know, like, hey, we're going to the trauma center. So like 40 people are going to walk in and they're going to be prodding you, asking you questions all at once. Don't worry. It doesn't mean something's wrong. That's just how they operate. So we get there and drop them off. And a lot of times we don't hear how things turn out. So I show up Friday and connect with some of the staff and Cory. And I'm like, hey, what's the deal?
So I didn't know that you'd already connected with anybody. I was just kind of feeling like it's Veterans Day, and I always try to this is Friday the 11th, and 2 grandfathers that fought in the South Pacific. I'm always just kind of like got an eye out for service people every year on that day. And, so I see the dude and all the fire equipment just kind of wandering aimlessly, scoping things out. So I just went up cold. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know there was any connection to this guy that was working on Friday, nothing. And just went and introduced myself. And after we said hi, I immediately launched into this story about Wednesday, not knowing that he was the guy at all, which was pretty neat.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah. So, so I think I told him that I was going to try to give him a shout out at some point during the day. And then, so anyway, keep going, Dom.
Yeah. So they let us know, hey, he had a break in his neck and his spinal cord was dislocated. And I checked with Zach.
Neck,
yeah.
Dislocated spinal cord.
Yeah. And immediately, like, my stomach, I get that feeling in the pit of my stomach where you're like, man, thank God we just did the right stuff, right? Because you guys 100%. Know as firefighters, like, a lot of times we deal with patients like, hey, these guys are just there for the conference, and like a small injury, like no one wants to be at the hospital for 6 hours, get a bill afterwards. But, it's just a good reminder. So I call my crew and I'm like, guys, guess what with that call? And they're like, they already, like, I don't have to say anything. And they go, his neck was broke, huh? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh my God. So, they said he had full senses and like full use of all his limbs and no deficits. And so just thank God that it had a good ending. And just a crazy, that's just the beginning though of the conference and the events, right? Because it's a roller coaster after that.
It gets crazy.
Dude.
All right. So now I have to tell the next piece of the story. So on Friday, we've got like the Compton Magic there. They're playing against the Professor. They're doing a dunk contest. This is like the top AAU team in the country. We've got some NBA players walking around. Like, it's a pretty live day. We had another concert, the Magic Money Court was hopping. Anyway, at some point there was in between things, I had an opportunity to take the mic. I saw Dom. I went and grabbed him. I brought him over. And I told the story, up to that point, basically, and that Zach was going to go into surgery the next day. So we didn't know if it was going to go well or anything. And so after kind of telling the story, and everybody's cheering on Dom and everything, and I'm like, hey, Dom, get out here and toss up a couple shots, because we talked and I knew he liked basketball, whatever. This dude's in like basically full fire captain gear. He's got a giant ass radio hanging off his belt. He's got a baseball hat, pulled down low. I'm like, this is like the least basketball looking outfit that I could ever possibly see. This guy takes the ball, walks over to the left baseline 3-pointer and yells out, "This one's for Zach." I'm like, no, like, there's no fucking way. Like, you're going to jinx the shit out of this. The surgery hasn't even happened yet. Motherfucker does not hit the rim. Just pure fucking tickles the net, swish, walks off the court. Like that's how it always happens.
Luckiest shot, in a long time. I was like, I wasn't thinking. Cory was like, "Hey, take a shot." I'm like, "I can't even get out of the uniform here." Like, so took the shot. Thank God it worked out. Gave a little extra, hopefully a little extra vibe sent towards the UCLA Ronald Reagan.
We told him. We told him it happened before his surgery.
Yeah.
How'd surgery go?
Great.
Awesome.
That's good to hear.
So, dude, Zach is going to be in a neck brace for 3 months, and then he can go skiing.
Might even make Jackson
man.
Hole.
That's possible.
Summit.
Yeah. He's already like back on the team Slack, like answering questions and shit. I'm like, bro, you did just break your neck. Like, you could take a week off if you want.
Dude, what a story. Seriously, but before we get to Bitcoin, it seriously is a good reminder for any EMT or medic out there. Like, you take cervical spine immobilization seriously, C-spine on 1,000 calls, and you're like, it starts to feel monotonous and overkill. But that's why we do it, man. You never know that one case. It's so hard to tell and parse it out amongst all that. So hat tip to you guys for being by the book and potentially saving his ability to have access to his limbs. Seriously, that's epic.
Yeah, unbelievable. Thank you.
No, for sure. No, a good reminder. Like, it's like, hey, you treat people like it's your family member, and that's how we always try to do it. So one other story that was pretty good, and Cory, you'll like this one because he told me after. So at the wrap party, Cory, graciously calls me up. First
of all, what an asshole in the first place not to think of inviting him to the wrap party. I didn't think of it until I was on the way to it. So I'm driving down PCH in Malibu, like on the way to this thing. And I'm like,
well, it's not like you had anything going on other than organizing, 20,000 vendors and people for the conference. So
I'm dealing with having missed my daughter's birthday party the day before. So, trying to make up for that. I've got my kids in tow for this thing. They came to the wrap party, the whole thing. But thank God I thought of it. And I called you. I was only like 10, 15 minutes away from the thing. Anyway.
So he calls me up and intros me. And then I was like, hey, should I say a few words? And I can see Cory's like, he's got to be thinking like, uh-oh, like, who's this firefighter? This guy's going to be, but I'm like, hey, man, like, he didn't know he had a ringer there. He's like, so got up there, gave the story. There were some good laughs, and actually got a chance to talk to Michael Saylor afterwards, who was like talking about the incident and came up and said thanks. So for me, that was like, wow. Unbelievable.
So cool, man.
Yeah. And not to get, I know we're going to get into the conference, but like Cory, I mean, just unbelievable conference. If you guys weren't there this year, I mean, just the vibes,
we'll be there next year for sure.
Yeah, the education, the vibes, the presenters, the whole experience like was unbelievable. Of course, enhanced by this like feel good story, but like the conference is out of this world. So really good.
Yeah, we've heard some good things about it. Cory, I know Dan's wanting to hear about this, and I am too. I want to hear some of your opinions about FTX. And there's so much shit that's gone down in the last week or two that it's like hard to even manage or keep up with it. And I'm sure you saw, you actually had some retweets on like SBF, who I don't know who it was, who had some DMs with them going over like
a reporter from Vox.
So you obviously read the entire thing. It's insane, like that this guy is actually saying this shit. He must not even have talked to a lawyer at this point, but
he's a completely fake person. And the reason that he was opening up to that reporter is because almost all of Vox's budget, in my understanding, is supplied by the Political Action Committee funded by his mom.
Really?
So that's why he thought he was talking to a friend.
Interesting.
Holy cow.
So both of his parents are lawyers or law professors,
law professors,
right?
But they're super active politically and have raised like hundreds of millions of dollars for get out the vote stuff, all on the Democratic side.
Would you be willing to kind of give us the synopsis of like the maybe 2 to 3 minute synopsis of how this happened, what happened, and just give us the play by play? And maybe we'll, chime in here and there and talk some shit.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you kind of from my perspective, obviously watched, I guess I was an active participant and combatant in helping Luna go to zero in March and April, and then it collapsed in
You
early
participated.
May.
Yeah,
wonderfully.
You got a medal for that, didn't you? Don't you have a chest of arms for that?
There's like an engraved staff of sorts that was given to me at the conference. Interestingly, I actually won the Bitcoin Standard Bearer Award for 2021. So I don't know what they give me for 2022.
Yeah, I mean,
there was that
sharp sniper. I don't know, the sniper award, taking headshots and not missing one.
Well, so I made this joke with Safety because he's so good at just like cutting right to the core with like one line of poetry. It's very sort of like the Arabic tradition of having the perfect line. They're the best poets in the world. And like, so he just cuts like a knife or cuts like a sword. And I was like, yeah, I kind of just like bludgeon shitcoiners with blunt objects, but often and with much force.
Right. Dude, his mother asshole quote for 2022, it's up there for the best Bitcoin quote of 2022.
What's the mother asshole quote? Tell me that quote.
He called Ethereum the mother asshole of shitcoins. I think it was on Lex Friedman's
mother
podcast.
Asshole from which all shitcoins spring.
I listened to that, but for some reason I just don't remember that line. But I'm gonna have to re-listen to it because that is
so good.
Fucking poetic right
it's
there.
Like the god springing from Zeus's head, but it's like the other.
A mother asshole.
Yeah, we know you've done this like 18 times, but there's no rest for the maxi when shitcoins are going up. So give us the rundown here.
This year specifically, it was 3, right? So I went really hard at Luna, and then I went really hard at Celsius, which kind of sprung from Luna. And that was because they made the dumb move to brag about having taken $500 million of customer funds out of Luna.
Now it appears that they were just all boils on the asshole of FTX in the end.
I mean, they're all boils on the asshole of all shitcoinery. Like I put out yesterday, like, this isn't even like a level. this isn't even a level 3 boss. SBF is like a level 2 boss. Like on
We're
a scale
talking
of
Dragon
1 to 10,
Mashinsky's a level.
Mashinsky was like, you know, if you have to give everybody a number, he's level 1, right? But level 3 is like Andreessen Horowitz, Vitalik. You know, there's some bigger beasts, and then we'll be done with crypto. And you know, it'd be great to not have to fight, you know, the varsity team, but these guys are all junior varsity. Anyway, so when Celsius collapsed, then a bunch of the other CeFi lenders collapsed, BlockFi, Voyager, and then Sam started getting really famous, right? Because he was coming in and supposedly trying to bail these guys out.
Yeah, he's the JP Morgan of crypto.
That's what the PR thing was doing, and that's what, you know, New York Times and everybody was putting those headlines out. And I was looking at it and I was like, there's no fucking way this guy is doing it unless it's positive ROI for him. Like, he must be making money, so he must have exposure to these businesses, or he wouldn't be trying to save them. And I said that on every TV appearance all May, June, July, questioning the narrative, poking at it, came up with, I like coming up with nicknames for these guys. So started calling him Scam, Bankster, Fraud a few months back.
No one had legs.
Almost got it. So the headline in New York Magazine today, the number 1 story on New York Magazine, calls him Scam, Bankman, Fraud. So they almost got it right. But
almost.
Yeah.
Bankster Fraud's better.
Anyway,
Right,
so I
definitely
mean,
better.
I did a lot of this with, you know, I went on CoinDesk a few different times, obviously, and their whole editorial team knows me, and I do their Bitcoin show with Christine Lee quite often. And so when someone, we still don't know who, passed Ian Allison, one of their editors, the Alameda balance sheet, he got in touch with me and sent me the balance sheet, and I analyzed it for him and told him what I saw in it, which became the article that came out 15 days ago. I'm the big, you know, paragraph long quote in that story. And the whole story is basically the things that I talked about with Ian.
Wait, to pause here real quick.
Yeah.
I know you knew that balance sheet was going to be fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Was it way more fucked than you anticipated? Or what was your initial reaction in parsing through it?
There wasn't much on it. I was expecting a lot more assets than what they had. I was expecting like much larger piles of like Bitcoin, for instance. And
like real assets, not
and
just
a lot
like
more dollars.
Fugazi, yeah,
a lot more dollars. But the fact that their whole balance sheet was, you know, almost all just dog shit coins, not even good shit coins, like really bad shit coins. It was like clearly just completely fake. And I thought the best way to sum it up was just pointing out, you know, their net equity or their retained equity, way over half of it was just one FTT, which is their own damn company that printed it out of thin air and gave it to them.
Yep.
So it seemed really clear that was a huge problem.
Wow.
So I'm curious, like obviously CZ and SBF had some beef having to do with the regulations in DC. So it's my understanding that he acquired a bunch of FTT last year he got paid for having sold his equity share, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So
right.
he was the, you know, one of the seed investors to start FTX. And when they sold it last year in 2021 and didn't want to be on the cap table anymore because they were clearly competing, they paid them in, I think it was $2.1 billion split between FTT and BNB.
Right. So he saw an opportunity to not only offload FTT and get some money out of it while simultaneously deep sixing a competitor.
CoinDesk like beautiful. CoinDesk like picked the lock and like nudged the door open just a little bit, and then CZ came through with a fucking battering ram and just blew the door off and said, "I'm going to sell over $500 million of FTT on the open market," and then it was just like.
I liked what Lynn Alden said this week. Of it wasn't a Ponzi, it wasn't a casino, it was a Ponzi built on a casino.
Yeah,
and we've all known that this stuff is as vapid and hollow as it gets, but it actually surprised me. It was so hollow and so devoid of any fundamentals. It actually surprised me, which is something I didn't think would happen.
Yeah,
I think an
lesson in here, man, honestly, because like there's nothing different about Sam Bankman-Fried than from Vitalik. Really, like they're the same dude. It's word salad. It's bullshit. It's faux intellectualism. It's platitudes. It's shibboleths, to use Sam's own word. Like, it's just a bunch of shit that sounds good that passes, like, you know, in polite society because Bitcoiners are so mean.
BCB is brought to you by Crowd Health. With open enrollment upon us, what if you didn't have to pay healthcare premiums anymore? What if you could invest in Bitcoin instead? With CrowdHealth, you can put money aside for health expenses in your own account and even hold a large part of it in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, you get the upside, not big insurance companies. Pay one low monthly total to fund an account that is yours. Choose your doctors and hold up to 75% of the funds in Bitcoin. If a large expense comes up, CrowdHealth will crowdfund the bill for you to pay it quickly. Stop supporting the broken health insurance system with your hard-earned capital. Go to joincrowdhealth.com and use code BLUE now to experience freedom from health insurance by utilizing Bitcoin. Right now, through the end of the year, you can get your first 6 months for just $99 per month. Don't get stuck in a bad insurance plan again. Instead, go to joincrowdhealth.com and use code BLUE to sign up. That's joincrowdhealth.com, promo code BLUE. CrowdHealth is not health insurance. It's a totally different way of paying for healthcare. Terms and conditions apply.
Blue Collar Bitcoin is sponsored by Capital Logistics. Capital Logistics is a freight broker connecting truck drivers and shipping partners around North America. A true blue-collar business that supports Blue Collar Bitcoin. Capital Logistics specializes in moving temperature-controlled cargo, food, supplies, and other freight nationwide for some of America's largest companies. Capital Logistics is a firm believer that people and businesses should be able to save what they earn without having their purchasing power manipulated by the financial system. As early adopters of innovative systems throughout their business, Capital's excess cash flow is put into Bitcoin every month. If you want to work with a company that shares blue-collar values and an affinity for Bitcoin, reach out to Capital Logistics today. Find them online at capitallogisticsllc.com. That's capitallogisticsllc.com.
The Blue Collar Bitcoin podcast is powered by arguably the most legendary company in Bitcoin, CoinKite. Use promo code BCB for 5% off select purchases, including the cold card, at coinkite.com. Established block 141,000, CoinKite is an industry leader in security and hardware manufacturing. They are producers of the renowned Cold Card, the world's most trusted and secure Bitcoin signing device or hardware wallet. It's built with a plethora of features fit for Bitcoin beginners all the way up to the most advanced of users. This device is a one-stop shop for your Bitcoin custody needs. CoinKite also manufactures the Block Lock, a gorgeous e-ink digital art display piece sitting in the background of every serious Bitcoiner on planet Earth. Block Clock can be programmed to scroll through key Bitcoin metrics including price, hash rate, the next halving date, and much more. CoinKite are also the makers of the Open Dime, a small USB stick that allows you to spend Bitcoin like a dollar bill, passing it along multiple times. Check out CoinKite's entire suite of products at coinkite.com. Now back to the show.
Yeah. And it's I think while we're having 3 firemen on this episode, ultimately, why do we care about this? Like we're unpacking fraud and Ponzi schemes and all this. Well, why does this matter? It's because there's actual people on the other side of it. Yep. Preston went on with Peter McCormick just recently, and I really liked what he did in this one part. He said, let's quantify money that disappears. Let's consider the work, the outlay, the toil that goes into, say, 8 or 16 or $32 billion. I don't have the math right in front of me, but I thought it through. I was like, it was something along the line of, if you take our agency, we have about 50 firefighters to make up $8 billion worth of money that disappears. You're talking about literally
years,
like over 1,000 years, right? Of labor. Yeah. And yes, I understand a lot of people that were exposed in these ways shouldn't have been, but these are a lot of real people on the other side of this. And I think at our core, what we're ultimately passionate about is allowing people to get to another level of financial freedom, to take control of their financial future in a new way, to provide for their family in a manner that wouldn't be possible if they didn't have this asset in hand. So when we rail against the crypto industry and against shitcoins, which we've been doing for 1.5 years, and we rub people the wrong way, which often happens, we're doing it out of a place of love and conviction because we actually care about our peers and our listenership. And this is why this stuff matters. One of us knows someone very well that was really affected this week in a way that honestly makes me want to cry. You know what I mean? These are real people that lost real money. And there is a place of protection. There's a place of fundamentals. And it is so hard for people to understand this when they're first in the space. that these two classes, crypto and Bitcoin, are not just different, they're polar opposite. And that's why we need education. That's the whole point of what we're doing, what Swan's doing, because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes dozens or hundreds or thousands of hours for this to click for the average person like ourselves.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing too is like, sorry, Dom,
no.
It's not only understanding the asset, but then understanding how to take possession of that asset or, understanding the real fundamental reasons why you shouldn't allow someone else to hold your keys. It's something that people just don't appreciate because they're so used to this traditional financial market where Fidelity is trustworthy. Like they can hold your stocks. That's fine. But when it comes to this kind of an asset class and these new companies that have literally just started proliferating in the last couple of years, you can't necessarily trust them. They're not insured by anybody. This is just, most of them are shitcoin trading DeFi schemes underneath the underbelly. And you have no idea how capitalized they are. You have no idea, if they're going to go belly up in the next day or two. It's and obviously this is an obvious statement to say this week, but it wasn't obvious to most people, especially people who were very early on or didn't have a full understanding of the implications of what this asset means to, taking actual possession of it. Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Cory, what do you think the chances are? Hopefully, it's a lot of work and I don't know if anyone's going to do it, but getting a sense of the percentages, the overall damage when the smoke clears, however the chips fall of like institutional money lost versus retail money lost, how some of the other chips like the Genesis or the BlockFis, depending on what happens with them, like, because there's funds within funds, right? And so there's even non-crypto people here potentially affected from funds that were involved in this that, thought that they were working with responsible financial shepherds who made a terrible oversight.
Quebec put a bunch of money into Celsius. And
Teachers Fund, right?
I think it was Ontario put a ton of money into FTX. So
that's what it was.
There, you've got real pension money in there. Not to mention that a ton of pension funds are LPs in venture funds that invested in FTX, right? So, it's pretty ugly. I did quick back of the envelope math, but seriously, you can just think of like if 100 billion of market cap was destroyed between the private market cap of FTX, the 60 billion from Luna and UST, and like, a bunch more. Obviously, marginal dollars make market cap go up a bit more, but let's say that was the number and then, divide by 100 grand a year, it's 1 million man years.
Wow. That is
value destroyed.
When you put it that way, it is so much more gut wrenching to hear,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I know in the mind of some, this is a callous thing to say, but I think it's truth. Events like these are so good for Bitcoin. I sent this thread yesterday, and it parlays some on an article I published in Bitcoin Magazine back in July, which basically the foundation of it was that fragility of a financial system mandates intervention, and intervention is inherently inequitable over time. And when we don't let these things reset, as even people with the best of intentions, things get awry, incentives get backwards, right? So as we look at just the microcosm of the crypto forest fire, if we will, and I know you actually get these in your area, Dom, so maybe you can lend an actual firefighting perspective on this, but I sent this thread yesterday about giant sequoias. My favorite place in the United States is Yosemite, and I love those groves in Yosemite. I've spent some time there over the years, and I know I like they need fire to survive. They need the canopy to be cleared so sunlight can get through. It's foundational to the longevity and the perpetual nature of that species. And so these events, like we get to see who the sequoias are, right? I kind of frame Bitcoin is the fertile soil. It's the most fertile monetary soil that's ever existed. And whatever giant sequoias remain after these events, those are the people that were building the right way, right? And in an ethical, long time frame manner. But you don't get to see that if the fire doesn't burn. And so as painful as it is in the short run, A, it demonstrates the uniqueness and value proposition of Bitcoin, and B, it allows responsible players in the marketplace to survive and grow over time.
Yeah, I think Long term for sure. Just sharing some conversations. One of the areas that I'm interested after the union work is done is educating unions, which I know you guys do some within your own, on Bitcoin. But the response, of course, I've put some feelers out, and I know you guys have done the same. Not even asking about FTX, just saying like, hey, have you thought about Bitcoin on the balance sheet? And a lot of the responses are, never knew much about it to start, other than people are losing out big, stay away. And you're like, all right, the education is going to have to come on bigger here, because obviously they're looking at short term, right? They're not talking about long term stuff. So, I mean, I think long term, it will be good, but the education is going to have to double, triple, quadruple down, which the Bitcoin community already does so well. There's so many great folks out there, and they speak from a place of like long term holding and passion. So that's something that's definitely there.
Yeah, Swan leads the charge on some of that stuff, most of that stuff, to be honest, and it's really good what you guys have put together on Swan Bitcoin's website. I was taking a look the other day, and you've aggregated some really good shit. And one thing I saw that I haven't seen in a while, and I read it a couple of years ago, is Brandon Quitten's what was the what's it called? I forget the title. The mushroom mycelium. That's it. Yeah, that is such a cool idea, the way he sewed all of that together. Cory, I want to pick your brain on how you think this whole shit show circus situation in the last couple of weeks is going to affect the potential ETF ever coming on board. You see Gensler hardening up against that, or do you think that this new regulation, probably much closer on the horizon than maybe it was just recently, is going to have a positive effect on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think there's still so much shadiness and manipulation of the asset price, right, by all these unregulated entities and the fake orders and faked volumes and wash trading and shit. So as long as so much of the volume is happening on exchanges that are not regulated by U.S. institutions, for better or worse, they have a pretty strong leg to stand on to say, let's put this thing off.
Right.
So I'm not holding my breath for it, which sucks, because I converted, some old 401ks or whatever into GBTC a long ass time ago. And
we're in the same boat, man.
It got down to a 15% discount, and I was like, should I just eat it? That shit'll bounce back. What is it, like 40%?
It's like 40% discount right now.
We're in the same. We're in the same boat, Cory.
Now there's all these rumors of all of DCG potentially going bankrupt, and like the whole fucking thing going into receivership. Like, we'll see what happens. But anyway, total disaster. I don't actually count my GBTC as like part of my net worth anymore.
Do you think? Oh, yeah, maybe I should. I don't want to hear that. Don't even say that. That just hurts. Anyway, do you think we're kind of at the end of this forest fire, or do you think that there's still some more dominoes that could go down on this? What do you think?
I think there's a bunch of people that are going to try to do that, have huge holes in their balance sheet, that are going to try to do what Celsius did, which is try to recover somehow and raise some more money and paper it over and never tell anyone, which is what FTX did, which is what 3 Arrows did. I think there's 100 crypto funds out there right now trying to figure out how to cover over the hole in their balance sheet from having fucked up this year.
The option of creating your own coin is kind of evaporating quick. You're going to have to think of something else.
I'm curious, Cory, what do you think? I mean, how many banks that hold accounts for different, projects are calling saying, hey, talk to the board at this time. We got to close you out, send your funds. Like, we're just kind of rethinking some things, because that is obviously very disruptive to any company, payroll, all those things. And a lot of these tokens there. I mean, I got to think there has to be some of that going on where banks are saying, we're going to take a big step back and here's your dollars back. And like, thanks. And that alone, if you're in the middle of trying to raise money and recover, is catastrophic.
Yeah, I think a lot of the crypto industry, all the funds and the projects are mostly banked by Silvergate and Signature. So those kind of two banks. And so they're kind of in the thick of it too. And their fees are pretty high. So they like the customers as long as they keep paying the fees. So my guess is that's probably not that much of an existential risk. I mean, it's a huge pain in the butt to get debanked. We used Citibank up until last month, right before this stuff. And they debanked us on a Tuesday, a few days before payroll, right before the end of the month in October. No email, no phone call, no snail mail letter, and no access to your funds. And I had to raise hell with their venture group, my friends in their investment bank. Finally, after like 4 or 5 days, I got them to move that balance back to the branch ledger near my house so that I could go in and actually get a cashier's check, and we could do it. But yeah, I mean, if we were not in a better financial position, you know, or if we had like all our money at Citibank, I mean, egregious to shut you down like that. And then all they were doing is issuing a paper check by snail mail to go to my old home address where I haven't lived for like a year and a half. And then I was going to have to like track that down somehow with no mail forwarding. And like, I mean, and you can't talk to anybody. You literally can't speak to anybody. They can't tell you why you got turned off. And you can't speak to the department. Not only that, no one inside of Citibank can speak to the department that issues the checks. They are accessible only by email. It's a hidden department that disperses the funds so they can hang on to it for as long as possible.
It's funny because people always talked about in exchanges, like, it's scary. There's no one to talk to that can help you. And I'm like, but there is at the bank. Like, you know, have you tried to call? Like, that's,
I was talking to my own personal accountants this morning about IRS refund. And they said, just like, don't bother calling. Like, no one's been able to get a hold of anyone at the IRS for the last month and a half. So, you know, you can basically look it up on the website every week or two, and, you know, there's like a where's my refund site, and that's about it. But you can't actually get anybody on the phone. And even them, when they get through and they have like a preferred access line, most of the time the agent that picks up for them just hangs up on them.
One thing I wanted to ask, Cory, because I think for some newcomers, they may be sitting here going, why does this keep happening? Like, what are the incentives behind the shitcoin machine? And reading your recent A16Z thread, and I've heard you say this before, you mention a regulatory and information arbitrage play, essentially, that these shitcoiners are making. Those are big words for some folks. Explain what you mean by that. Why do people keep doing this? What opportunity has existed, and you see that window closing as a result of some of these events?
Yeah. Okay. So if you are a crypto VC, you only need 2 slides in a fundraising deck to raise LP funds. One is short time to liquidity, which means we can create this thing. We don't need revenue. We don't need product market fit. We don't need to create anything of value, but we can be selling it on these exchanges to retail right away.
Because we're unregistered.
Unregistered securities,
Yep.
And then the second one is we can make our own weather. And that means you can say, when you're unregulated, you can say anything that you want about the product and claim that your crypto blockchain DeFi magic will solve this, that, or the other when it won't. And you can say whatever you want, and you can market it however you want to whoever you want, as long as you're in this brief moment in time where there's the information arbitrage, where the marks, the people, the dumb institutional and the retail that are buying it from you don't know. And you're using your credibility as like Andreessen Horowitz or Union Square Ventures or CAA, celebrities, whatever. You're using your credibility, your access to the media, the fact that there's like, 2 Bitcoiners that get on mainstream media regularly. It's like me and Natalie. And then there's like some tweeners that are mostly crypto scammers, but sometimes talk about Bitcoin, like Pomp. And then otherwise, it's all just like Novogratz and a bunch of crypto fund managers, basically.
Right.
There's like 2 people who actually care about Bitcoin that get on TV. And then the regulatory arbitrage, you know, obviously is just that this stuff lives inappropriately in a gray zone. The laws on the books don't need to be changed. They can be applied to this stuff as is. The big game afoot here the last couple of years, spearheaded by Coinbase, Ethereum Foundation, Andreessen Horowitz, Paradigm, and in particular, Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, has been to try to take oversight of crypto, non-Bitcoin crypto, away from the SEC and put it under the CFTC, the Commodity Futures mission in Chicago, right? And that's what they've been trying to do. They've been dangling all this money and saying, hey, you can charge us a ton of fees if you'll only regulate us with a light hand and get us away from securities land. Right. And, you know, unfortunately for those scamming fucks, they let Sam Bankman-Fried take the lead and do all this DC lobbying and spend all this money and, you know, whatever in DC. And this is who they bet on. And they bet on the wrong horse. And I think they're super fucked.
And they passed the Howey test with flying colors, which Gensler's been on record. I mean, even if we take Ethereum, the next best competitor, Gensler's on record walking through why it passes the Howey test with flying colors.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, we're talking basics, but again, for newcomers, like if you're interested in decentralized, censorship resistant money, even to take the Ethereum case study, it's completely fucked. I mean, you're going to have regulatory onslaught here. These things are securities because they fit the definition. Crypto exchanges and companies are going to need to register with the SEC. Like it seems like, and then you consider the proof of stake move where all the power players are already in the back pocket. Like it's right. There's not a lot of gray here, in my opinion. It's already pretty scripted, and there's only one ship headed for the land of freedom here.
I mean, but it's pretty clear at this point that simply they've bought off these regulators. I mean, or influenced them in some way. Maybe it's not monetary. I'm sure it is in some degree. But I mean, SBF's entire namesake, as far as I can tell, has been basically buying politicians and buying regulators and positioning themselves in a place where they can, you know, go to the CFTC and put themselves in a position to create a moat around their business and take a monopoly position.
Yeah,
Cory,
that was their attempt.
I mean, as Dan kind of enumerated, I have got a close friend that lost a significant amount of money in this. And for people listening that are in that same boat, I mean, we feel terrible for them and it sucks. And, you know, we reached out to some people that could maybe give them a lending hand, but I'm sure there's a lot of listeners, or at least a good sort of them, that probably are in the same position. Is there any advice you have for what these people can do besides, you know, join a class action lawsuit and hope that they can get some percentage of their money back? What's your, if you have anything to say about that, what would you give them? How would you give them advice?
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. Obviously, you know, use the tools that you can and do the research to try to recover what they've stolen from you. But then after that, just, you know, recognize I've had very expensive lessons in my life. Most people have, right? You know, you either spent years on something that didn't work out or you spent a bunch of money on something that didn't work out. And I've done both multiple times.
For sure.
And if you're still alive and you can still, you know, get around and have some of your health or all of it and, you know, spend time with people that matter and then kind of retrench and think about, you know, what were you actually in this for? You know, a buddy of mine who got all his Bitcoin off of Voyager in May because of me, wrote me this morning and said that his wife was still keeping all of her Bitcoin in Gemini Earn.
Oh my God. Aren't they associated with...
He'd been telling her for 6 months to get it out of there. And she was just like, you know, slow about it or didn't care. And she was like, oh, it's the Winklevi. Like, you know, like crypto needs rules. They're like the regulatory guys. Like they're all the way up the ass of the banks and the government. Of course they wouldn't screw around.
Yeah. The Winklevi.
The Winklevi. I love it when people say that.
I was just going to ask, go ahead, Josh.
No, go ahead. I think they'll save this for the end.
We need to take a quick segue and talk about something happy and positive.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah. What do you got?
Let's give Dom the floor here. We're going to put you on the spot.
I want to ask Dom real quick and then do your Dom segment. Dom, we're all going to be hanging out in Indianapolis for the big Indianapolis Firefighters Convention. What is it, April 24th to the 29th? So we'll go down there for a couple of days. We're gonna sponsor a booth or something for Josh and Dan. We've got two senior guys. Yeah, FDIC. Yeah. So you guys, we're doing that. We got two guys in Indy, including Dante, the guy who runs the product that we're launching with you guys next month, which is Swan Premium. Anyway, so yeah, we've got something to look forward to before Pacific Bitcoin next fall.
That's a
We're doing
perfect
the firefighter convention.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's a
You're gonna have
perfect
to get on
parlay.
You're going to have to go ride some fire trucks, do some ride time, get up at 3 times in the middle of the night and get no sleep and, go home and nap
Lots of
during the
Shake
day.
Shack. Lots of Shake Shack. Late
There you
night
go.
Shake Shack.
Yeah, there you go.
This will be my second time going if I go this year. I went in 2009, I think.
I've never been, actually.
Really?
I've never been.
No?
I've heard the story, so I might have to join you guys.
It's a good time. It's a good time there.
Yes, I got your flight if you can get the time off.
Oh, dude! All right, that's I'll see if I can swing that.
Cory, if you're going to fly us there, we only go private. So you guys have to charter a private jet for us.
Which one of you guys is going to be the pilot for the 2-seater?
You know what? I will.
We'll figure it out.
I can fly a 152, no problem, guaranteed.
Okay.
Josh is actually a big time aviation nerd, by the way. He probably could figure it out in time.
Yeah,
dude. I played Flight Simulator 2020.
Indy's
man,
not that
I can
far,
fly
guys. You're in Chicago, should be fine.
A lot of flat land there to land planes, so you're good.
Yeah, dude, you're good. You can hit a cornfield. You're not going to die. You might be pretty fucked up, but you're not going to die.
I was going to transition. Just Dom, tell us. Give us more of your Bitcoin insights. I want to transition this to we hit a little bit of this, but maybe we'll close with a little bit of this vibe. Takeaways for existing and future plebs that are out there earning wages, whatever that might be, whether they're firefighters or iron workers or garbage men that want to protect their hard-earned capital. You can take this wherever you want. More about your journey, kind of how you perceive this at your agency. Mike's yours.
Yeah, so I'll preface it by saying, of course, feel free to correct me on anything. You guys have a lot of institutional foundational knowledge on Bitcoin, but I've read the white paper a few times, so that's always a good place to start. Like, I literally encourage people. The Satoshi white paper is an amazing read for non-technical readers, especially, let's just say, the first half, right? When we get to the second half on the equations, it gets a lot thicker, but no, I mean, I think something that I'm very interested in and going to be working on a lot, is I've been for the last, year, 6 months to a year, working on educating legislators on Bitcoin, helping them understand the difference. And really just with some of our folks, I give a very simple, people always come up because they, you guys get the same thing. You're in the space and they go, what should I do? What should I buy? And it's like very simple. Some of it is investing 101, but it's like, hey, for me, I don't put money in that I can't afford to lose. Rule number 1. Rule number 2, I've had a ledger for 4 or 5 years, have upgraded along the way. I don't know, different people have different ideas about wallets. I get it. But I've always been a fan of cold storage. That's like the first time that I kind of fell in love with Bitcoin, because having this feeling when you're at work, knowing like there could be a bank run, there could be catastrophe, like what I've invested in is safe. Yep. I'm not worried. So like, let it all happen. Like, I'm interested from an observational point, but not a participant point. And the third thing is invest in Bitcoin with the intent not to return that Bitcoin to fiat. Hold it, like have that for life. Just like if I buy a property, I want to hold it for life unless I'm going to exchange it for a like property. There is no like property that is like Bitcoin. So buy it and hold it. You can borrow against it years down the road, a decade from now, but don't sell it and look at it from that lens. Why would you want to sell something that is naturally scarce, becoming more scarce as it's becoming more adopted? And I think I've had some good conversations with folks that have done that and not tried to I'm going to put, $5,000 into Bitcoin because I'll have 40 and I can buy a truck. Like, no, it's just bad for anything in the world. And then another big thing, the last thing is, I really got interested in reading the story about the Silk Road. It's so funny because I know it's a bad association because it was the dark web and that's the go-to for.
It's an interesting story though. It really is.
It really is, because you think about where else would an early currency, a digital peer-to-peer currency, have gotten a beta test of the size of a Silk Road in on Amazon or Apple. And so I think one of the areas that I'm like really interested to get involved in is like, I was talking to a friend the other day and I said, hey, what do you think would excite people more if Apple adopted Bitcoin as you know, through Apple Pay, or if OfferUp switched to Bitcoin as a primary exchange for sellers and buyers? And I think the answer mostly would be Apple because of the brand and the hype. But I look at like OfferUp and I look at like, you know, the peer-to-peer exchange, and that excites me to like really have Bitcoin be a non-third party. Like, hey, Dan, Josh, like I may get something from you, or we may do something in the future where I'm just going to send my wallet to yours, and that's it. We're done. We're not going to do any of this like third party stuff. And that there, I think, still lies the beauty of Bitcoin. And I think that's a great area that will be, you know, adoption will be naturally getting towards that. So I'm really excited and looking to educate, especially unions, more. It's just tough when these negative things happen, of course, because they don't understand the difference. But we'll teach them for sure.
The real bummer about this whole situation, people watch this stuff go down and they associate Bitcoin with it. And this is the best time to buy that I've seen in 2 years at minimum. Like, this is the time when people should be battening down the hatches, buying as much as they comfortably want to, putting it in cold storage and forgetting about it for another 10 years at minimum. Just a couple of things that before we end this, I think are messages that we should give to people that are listening. Like, number one, clear your funds from exchanges. If you're listening to this and you haven't, and there's an exchange that you have your money on, get that shit off of there as soon as you can. If you don't have a hardware wallet, I mean, maybe this is a bit of a stretch, and Cory, tell me if you disagree. I would put my money on a software wallet on my phone right now rather than keep it on an exchange, and then get a hardware wallet ordered and get that shit off of your phone onto that hardware wallet as soon as you can. I would prefer, you know, cold card. That's my preference, but you choose whatever you want, a Trezor, Ledger, whatever.
And I always tell people, Josh, like, hey, start with small dollars, transfer $10 of Bitcoin back and forth a couple of times.
Right.
And when you tell them that, they come up to you the next day and they go, dude, I got everything on there. It's like the easiest thing in the world. And it's amazing. And it's like,
it is. I understand like people's apprehension about it. Like, it seems complicated. Like, you have to write all these words down. You got to get a seed plate or some kind of metal plate to put your seeds on. Like, that stuff can come later. Like, get it, first of all, off those exchanges as quickly as you can. Use a good, solid place that doesn't want you to keep your Bitcoin there. Swan is an obvious example. Strike also does that. Like, buy it from a place where you can get it off very quickly, where you can put it on your own shit.
And a place that's not going to distract noobs, right?
Yeah,
we said this in the spaces earlier in the week. The problem with directing people to Coinbase is there's just stuff flying everywhere. There's bullshit everywhere, right? If you want to harness education material, which everybody needs to dive into, you need to direct them to a spot that has good, sound resources, and their revenue model isn't off them gambling, right?
Right.
So it's more than just the functionality of encouraging cold storage. It's what are they going to be exposed to as they begin their learning journey.
Exactly. Okay, so down my list, one last thing here, which is if you're really that apprehensive about it and you're really scared, go to Casa or go to Unchained. They make it very easy, and if you really, really need the help, you can pay them to help you. And I don't know if Unchained is still doing it, but they typically charge $1,000, but they give you like 800 of it or something like that back in Bitcoin if you use their white glove service. So go to one of those places, have them help you, hold your hand. And, you know, it's really simple once you have it done in retrospect. Maybe on the surface it looks kind of complicated to some people, but it really isn't. It's pretty easy.
Hey, you guys need to start a blue glove service, because you guys are anti-white glove service, dude. So
by the way,
genius.
The blue glove service is Swan is Bitcoin's customer service team. It's swan.com/support. That's where people get their support on wallets. You don't need to pay a ton of money. We will help. We keep everything updated as far as like our recommendations at swan.com/wallets. But I mean, we help anybody with a wallet setup.
Cory, before we end this, I want to see you do that Swan motif again. Can you do that? Show me how that worked.
No, it's just this. That's it.
Just
right here.
Okay.
Goose neck. Yep.
All right.
Swan neck.
Goose neck.
Yeah, you gotta hang the swan on him. When you make the 3-pointer, you gotta hang the swan on him.
By the way, that story. I gave you the mic, Cory, for that story in the beginning. I still think there's a remote possibility it's complete bullshit, and that was like take number 8 where you hit that 30-footer. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see it to believe it.
I got 40 people to yell oh, for like 90 seconds straight.
What
like
a well-orchestrated mate could have been a well-orchestrated scam. I don't know. I'm not going to trust. I'm going to have to verify.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
There's too many
AI tools out there these days. I got
the same crew from the moon landing, so they are pretty good. Listen, guys, we're setting up. So Swan Premium is launching. We're collecting people for the waitlist right now. So this is like just like a ton of great resources, mad discounts, private webinars, extra content that you can't just get from the blog. So this is going to be something that we'll probably sell. Well, we're selling it for like $20 a month. I just wrote the team. We're going to set up swan.com/fire and it's going to be free for all firefighters nationwide.
Sweet.
Wow. That's epic. That is
awesome.
Unreal. Y'all heard it here first.
Brothers and sisters, get on it.
Swan.com/fire, free lifetime membership in Swan Premium for watching this show.
Hell yeah.
That is very
cool.
generous, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
This was a blast. I'm going to just throw in one last thing in my 2 cents, which is even a step back from Bitcoin for the wage earner, for the middle class member. Free up your cash flow. You can't access opportunities in market conditions if you don't have free cash flow. Stay out of stupid debt, stay out of stupid leverage, and educate yourself, right? If you're a career firefighter or paramedic, you're probably taking your career really seriously, taking classes, continuing education. Take the way you store that hard-earned capital seriously. Educate yourself on that as well. And nobody can do that for you, right? Bitcoin redefines ownership in the digital age, and there's a lot of resources to help you, but you have to educate yourself and take ownership yourself.
Absolutely. I love that Matt Odell saying to stay humble and stack sats, because it sounds so like obvious in the times other than what we're looking at right now, but right now it seems ingenious. Like all he's saying is don't be an idiot, don't get over leveraged, just buy the shit consecutively and consistently and put it in cold storage and forget about it. And you're going to be fine.
Buy Bitcoin and fall asleep for 5 years. Preston Pish, 2022.
That's it.
It's a great
That's
message.
it. Hey, wait till someone is like, hey, how much is that in Bitcoin, right? And you're like, what about dollars? And you're like, I mean, I don't even know. But are we going to make a deal or what? Because I'm trying to figure out how much in Bitcoin it is. And you're like, I wonder what I'm sitting on right now. Like, oh, okay. We might be flying that private flight to FDIC, So, hey, I want to thank, before we go, I want to thank you guys for having me on. I want to thank Cory for so graciously involving me in the weekend to kind of share this amazing story. I can't wait till next year. I want to connect with you all. And of course, I'm going to be working very hard to further educate labor as a whole and find ways where labor can see ways in which Bitcoin and the efforts of Bitcoiners fit directly with the efforts of labor. Because at the end of the day, right, we're looking to preserve our time, our value over years to come and pass it on to our families. So very excited to do a lot more work with you guys, and the show goes on,
Absolutely.
The show goes on. Thanks, gents.
Thanks. It was a pleasure, Dom. Thanks, Cory.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.